In the apocalyptic era, zombies roamed freely and human abilities awakened, but Wang Yusheng's abilities were different. He could extract the secret props of Doraemon. Air cannons, bamboo dragonflies, any door, time machines, dictator buttons, world reversal mirrors, ESP training boxes, stunt robots. With a variety of secret props, Wang Yusheng couldn't help but think, is there really a way for zombies to survive in front of secret props with dimension reduction and strike capabilities? Chapter 1. Awakening from sleep, zombies pound their faces. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Shishan City, Shishan Mental Hospital. Wang Yusheng, dressed in sick clothes, sat on the bed panting heavily. He looked at the zombie lying in front of him with lingering fear, pressing his temple with one hand and trying to recall everything. I was locked up in a mental hospital. Just as I woke up, a zombie rushed over. I instinctively raised my hand to push away. As a result, the palm of the hand trembled and the zombie's head exploded. With this thought in mind, Wang Yusheng lifted his right hand and faced the wall in front of the hospital bed with the palm of his hand. With a thought, the trembling sensation he had just felt came back from his palm. Immediately after, with a soft bang, a circular pit appeared on the wall in front. Air cannon. This word suddenly appeared in Wang Yusheng's mind, and he felt as if there was something extra in his mind. This feeling was like wanting to dig out ear wax from his ear. He used his brain to think hard and finally dug out that thing. Doraemon's Secret Props Complete Collection. Loading completed. Currently holding item. Air cannon. Current energy value. 1/100. Energy required for next item extraction. 200. Just as Wang Yusheng felt lost, a sound of footsteps came from the door. Looking up, another terrifying and bloodthirsty zombie stumbled in. Wang Yusheng didn't think much, lifting his right hand was like an air cannon. But due to the distance, this cannon tilted on the door of the ward and punched a hole in the door panel. Tisk. Wang Yusheng instinctively clicked. And when the zombie at the door saw Wang Yujia as a living person, it seemed to trigger some mechanism. They stepped up their legs and rushed towards Wang Yusheng, making a sound in their mouth. Seeing the distance getting closer, Wang Yusheng sat motionless on the bed. He tightened his body and raised his right hand, his heart racing as the zombie approached. As the zombie was about to pounce, he fired another air cannon and punched a hole in the zombie's head. The zombie, who had lost its head, collapsed straight in front of Wang Yusheng, pressing against another dead zombie. Wang Yusheng took a deep breath, adjusted his breathing, and felt the message coming from his mind. Air cannon energy. 16/20. Can be charged/upgraded. Current energy value. 2 out of 100. Energy required for upgrade. 1000. Do you gain some energy points by killing a zombie? But there is a limit to the use of the air cannon. Is it charged with energy points? Wang Yusheng brainstormed, and the energy points decreased a bit, then the energy value of the air cannon increased to 19 points. A little energy value, exchange for 3 points of air cannon energy. That means I must kill a zombie within 3 cannons in order to have stable energy to use. However, the power of the air cannon seems to weaken with increasing distance, so in order to accurately hit the head, I still need to be close. Wang Yusheng pondered calmly as he looked up and saw that the ward was empty, and there were no other items on him besides his medical uniform. Walking carefully out of bed, Wang Yusheng saw a newspaper on the floor. He picked it up and looked at the date, his face showing contemplation. I remember. I was locked up in Shishan Mental Hospital in early February 2023, and the newspaper was published in April 2024. But I don't have any memory of this period. Did I become unconscious for over a year after coming here? And what is the situation with the zombies appearing here now? The unclear situation made Wang Yusheng a bit restless, so he decided to leave the ward and go outside to see the situation. All fear comes from insufficient firepower. As long as there is an air cannon to protect himself and the power of the air cannon can blow up the zombie's head, then Wang Yusheng has no reason to be too afraid of zombie attacks. Arriving at the hallway outside the door, a gloomy atmosphere enveloped the ground. There were some flesh and blood on the ground, and upon closer inspection, there were still signs of tearing. For a moment, Wang Yusheng thought that these might be human tissues left behind after being bitten by zombies. If caught by zombies, will it become like them? Or death? Wang Yusheng's face was solemn, and he took cautious steps down the corridor. Passing by, he saw that there were no living people in the ward, which made Wang Yusheng feel a bit depressed. Have I been forgotten here? Suddenly, a loud bang interrupted Wang Yusheng's thoughts. A zombie suddenly broke through the door of a hospital room and rushed towards Wang Yusheng. Suddenly, Wang Yusheng was knocked down to the ground. Just as the zombie's mouth with a foul smell was about to bite, Wang Yusheng fed it an air cannon and smashed the zombie's bloody mouth and head into pieces. Blood and flesh tissue fell on Wang Yusheng's face, making him feel nauseous. Suppressing the tumultuous sensation in his stomach, Wang Yusheng vigorously kicked the fallen zombie away and stumbled to his feet. Fortunately, this Doraemon prop is an air cannon. But why do I have such abilities? Wang Yusheng looked at the blood-stained palm of his right hand, his mind filled with incomprehensible things. After shaking his head and lifting his clothes to wipe away the dirt on his face, Wang Yusheng continued to walk towards other areas of the hospital. I searched for a whole floor, but Wang Yusheng didn't find any other living people. There were only a few scattered zombies, but they were all hit in the head by Wang Yusheng's air cannon. If he didn't hit their heads, these zombies could continue to move. The ward where Wang Yusheng is located is on the 3rd floor, and he kept exploring until he reached the 1st floor without seeing anyone else. At this moment, Wang Yusheng's gaze was suddenly drawn to a downward staircase. Is it on the 1st floor underground? Wang Yujia walked up to the stairs, still having some memories. There should be some dangerous mental patients locked up inside the 1st floor, with a certain level of aggression, so they are isolated from ordinary mental patients. Wang Yusheng hesitated for a moment, then slowly stepped down the stairs and walked towards the underground 1st floor. Arriving at the underground 1st floor, where the floor height was much lower than the upper level, and there were no windows around. This oppressive and airtight feeling made Wang Yusheng unable to help but breathe quickly. Walking in the corridor, several lights flickered and made a sizzling sound, as if the electricity was about to cut off at any moment. Wang Yusheng moved his steps like a snail, and the surroundings were unusually quiet. He could only hear his own footsteps and breathing. The door panels of several wards here have been damaged, but there is a closed door at the end of the corridor that is intact. Wang Yusheng approached slowly and arrived at the door, only to find that it was slightly open, leaving a crack in the door. Getting close to the crack in the door and looking inside, I can't see anything clearly. Wang Yusheng, with caution, slowly pushed open the door and saw a little girl sitting on a chair under the flickering lights in the hallway. The little girl had long white hair and was dressed in a deep red princess dress. Her pupils were shining red, and she stared closely at Wang Yusheng as she pushed the door in. At this moment, Wang Yusheng felt a chill in his back. Besides zombies, there are no ghosts. At this moment, flames suddenly erupted from the little girl's clothes, illuminating her delicate doll-like face. Wang Yusheng took a step back, feeling like he was being disturbed. The next moment, in the blink of an eye, Wang Yusheng's figure disappeared from before his eyes. He only noticed a heat wave passing by him, and the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground came from behind. Looking back, there was a blazing zombie lying on the ground, and the little girl in the red dress was standing in front of the zombie. The flames on her body slowly dissipated, and her red-purple pupils stared at Wang Yusheng. Her delicate lips opened slightly and she slowly spoke. I am the fire cloud evil god, which one, your excellency? Chapter 2. Underground 1st floor, dangerous patients. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For a moment, various possibilities flashed through Wang Yusheng's mind. However, Wang Yusheng quickly realized that the little girl in front of him might not be a ghost, but a patient in the Shishan mental hospital. The flames emanating from the little girl should be a special power, just like the Doraemon secret prop he possesses. My name is Mr. Civet Cat. Civet Cat. I haven't heard of it, said the little girl who claimed to be the fire cloud evil god. She turned around and walked back to the hospital room, continuing to sit on her chair, motionless. Wang Yusheng looked behind him and saw that the zombie had been burned through, emitting a strange smell. The flames on its body had gradually extinguished. Ha! Feeling the heat in the air, Wang Yusheng felt lingering palpitations. On the one hand, he was shocked by the terrifying ability of the fire cloud evil god, and on the other hand, his heart was palpitated by the zombie behind him. If it weren't for the fire cloud evil god taking action, Wang Yusheng wouldn't have known there were zombies approaching behind him. This zombie is different from what Wang Yusheng encountered on the upper floors. The previous zombies would only rush forward without thinking, with great movement. However, just now this zombie clearly approached Wang Yusheng slowly. Surprisingly, there would be a surprise attack. This zombie is different. Wang Yusheng calmed his thoughts and then looked at the little girl in the room. After some thought, he spoke up and asked, Senior Fire Cloud Evil God, may I ask you a question? Speak. The little girl's words, although old and mature, had a somewhat grandiose voice. At this moment, Wang Yusheng noticed that there were still some food and water on the ground in the ward. Is the little girl left behind? Nowadays, the martial arts world is turbulent and plagued by evil disasters. Perhaps it's not suitable to stay here for a long time. Would you be willing to accompany me to find a safe place? After hearing Wang Yusheng's words, the little girl remained silent for a while, leaving Wang Yusheng somewhat at a loss. Just as he was about to continue speaking, the little girl spoke up and said, I don't understand. Okay, Wang Yusheng's reaction was quick. He speculated that the little girl was just imagining herself as the fire cloud evil god, but in reality, her language and vocabulary were limited, and her comprehension ability may only be at the level of a child. Let's put it this way, you're not safe alone. Why don't you come with me? Wang Yusheng didn't know why the little girl was left here, but since he met her, he couldn't let her be here alone. And on the other hand, the little girl has shown amazing power, and with this power, mutual support is necessary to survive in the apocalypse. Okay. Surprisingly, the little girl did not refuse. Wang Yusheng didn't expect the little girl to agree so easily, but in the end, the goal was just achieved. He said, okay, then you can sit for a while longer and I'll help you tidy up here. Also, your name is too long, I'll call you Huiyun, okay? Okay, the little girl spoke slowly without refusing. Wang Yusheng nodded and slowly approached Huiyun, his mind also on guard. After all, Huiyun appears to be a mentally ill patient on the basement floor. The mentally ill patients on this floor all have a certain level of danger, and perhaps she will suddenly change her temperament and make some dangerous actions. Fortunately, Huiyun didn't make any unnecessary moves, just silently watching Wang Yusheng put all the water, food, and other supplies in the room into a small red backpack. Let's go, Huiyun. Wang Yusheng couldn't find any clues about the little girl's identity or name in the room, so he could only call her by the name Huiyun. Upon hearing Wang Yusheng's call, Huiyun got off the chair and walked up to her, extending her small hand. Wang Yusheng was stunned for a moment, then reached out his hand and tried to hold on to Huiyun. Huiyun's little hand was warm, indeed not a ghost. Seeing that Huiyun had no other radical actions, Wang Yusheng let go of his worries. Let's go look for anyone else, Wang Yusheng told Huiyun about the next action, but Huiyun didn't respond and was silently led forward by Wang Yusheng. Leaving Huiyun's ward, Wang Yusheng continued to explore on the basement floor. Quickly, Wang Yusheng was in another ward and found a young man sitting on the floor in a meditative posture, revealing eerie things everywhere. After hearing the footsteps of Wang Yusheng, the other party suddenly moved their right hand and picked up a sword next to him. Then, the sword was unsheathed and swept across the air. Wang Yusheng's reaction speed was quite fast. When he saw the young man drawing his sword, he protected Huiyun and hid towards the wall outside the hospital room. Subsequently, a gust of strong wind struck, and a cart parked outside the ward was cut in half by an invisible blade of the wind. This is also a capable person. Wang Yusheng was shocked and then hid outside the hospital room, shouting inside, "Don't be impulsive. We are not bad people, nor are we zombies." After shouting, there was no movement in the ward, but there were no new attacks. After waiting for 5 minutes, there was still no sound. Wang Yusheng thought for a moment and mustered the courage to look into the hospital room. However, this sight startled him. The young man actually stood at the door, and Wang Yusheng met him head-on. Wow! Wang Yusheng was so scared that he stepped back, but the young man didn't make any extra movements. The other person appeared to be about 1.8 meters tall, dressed in a uniform of Shishan Mental Hospital, with closed eyes and a sword in his right hand, but the sword was sheathed and not pulled out. Compared to Wang Yusheng's panic, Huiyun is much calmer. "I am the fire cloud evil god, which one, your excellency?" Faced with Huiyun's question, the other party did not respond. "Hi. Hello." Wang Yusheng saw that the young man with his eyes closed had no intention of attacking anyone again, so he greeted him. However, the young man remained silent and stood motionless at the entrance of the hospital room. The behavior of mental patients cannot be described as normal, but Wang Yusheng was not too surprised. After thinking for a moment, he said, "We are going to look for any other survivors and then move together in a group. This is safer. Do you want to come together?" As the words fell, the young man took a step forward and remained silent. Wang Yusheng scratched his head, pondered for a moment, and said, "If you take one more step, I will take it as if you agreed to my request and take action with us, okay?" Subsequently, the youth took another step forward. It seems that the youth should have understood. Good. Wang Yusheng was overjoyed. With many people, strength is great. Acting together is always a good thing. He approached and looked at the young man, who looked young, around 20 years old, slightly younger than Wang Yusheng. Upon closer inspection, there was a badge on the chest of the clothes in the youth's mental hospital, which read, "Number 007, Yi Fanzhou." Chapter 3. Zombies Rise Up and Run for Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your name is Yi Fanzhou, right? My name is Wang Yusheng, and this is Huiyun. Wang Yusheng introduced himself to Yi Fanzhou, but he still closed his eyes and remained silent. "Aren't you a civet cat?" At this moment, Huiyun spoke up. "That's my nickname, you can call me the cat." Wang Yusheng crouched down and explained to Huiyun in a warm voice. Huiyun nodded slightly after listening and didn't say much. Seeing that Yi Fanzhou had no response, Wang Yusheng walked into Yi Fanzhou's ward and searched around, but unlike Huiyun's room, there were no supplies in Yi Fanzhou's room. "Boating, are you hungry?" Wang Yusheng doesn't know how long Huiyun and Yi Fanzhou have been here, nor when the zombie crisis broke out, nor can he get any news from these two people. Yi Fanzhou didn't respond, and Wang Yusheng found a package of cookies from his backpack and handed it to him. Although Yi Fanzhou closed his eyes, he could accurately grasp the cookies he handed over. Then, he took the cookies with one hand, tore open the packaging with his teeth, and ate them all in a few bites. "Come on, drink some more water." Wang Yusheng felt that Yi Fanzhou should have been hungry for a while, otherwise he wouldn't have eaten so quickly. So he handed the water to Yi Fanzhou, and he drank the whole bottle of water in 2 bites. Thinking that he might not have eaten enough, Wang Yusheng handed over another compressed biscuit, but Yi Fanzhou did not take it. It was unclear whether he was full or didn't like it anymore. "Are you hungry, Huiyun?" Wang Yusheng lowered his head and looked at Huiyun's little sister. Huiyun shook his head upon hearing this. She had a lot of supplies in her room and should not worry about food and drink on a regular basis. Okay. Let's keep searching, maybe there are other survivors. Wang Yusheng put away his food and led Huiyun's little sister ahead, while Yi Fanzhou followed him step by step. Even though he closed his eyes, it didn't affect his movements. As soon as the three of them walked to a corner, there were more than 10 zombies blocking the corridor in front of them. When Wang Yusheng and the others appeared, the zombies looked over and rushed forward without warning. Oh no! In a flash of thought, Yi Fanzhou stumbled forward behind him, then drew his sword and killed the zombie. I saw Yi Fanzhou waving his sharp sword. Even though the blade was still some distance away from the zombie's head was still chopped off. Yi Fanzhou's skills were quite agile, as he swung his sword while kicking away the approaching zombie, and then stabbed through a zombie with a backhand sword. But the zombie, who had not lost its head, still had crazy and astonishing mobility. The zombie, whose body was pierced through, grabbed Yi Fanzhou's sword and continued to pounce towards him. Its open mouth was about to bite Yi Fanzhou's shoulder with a loud bang. Wang Yusheng rushed to Yi Fanzhou's side and smashed the zombie's head with an air cannon. Immediately after, Yi Fanzhou kicked away the zombies, drew his sword, and continued to kill the remaining zombies. Above. Wang Yusheng was about to support when he suddenly heard the sound of Huiyun. Without much thought, as Wang Yusheng looked up, his right hand had also been raised. A zombie leaped into the air and rushed towards Wang Yusheng. With a loud bang, the air cannon shot out, but only hit the zombie's shoulder, unable to stop the zombie's attack. Just as Wang Yusheng was dodging backwards and preparing to fire the second air cannon, a heat wave surged out, and Huiyun's little sister burned the zombie jumping in the air clean. Thank you. Thank you, Wang Yusheng said after swallowing his saliva. There. Little sister Huiyun pointed to the distance. Wang Yusheng took the opportunity to look and found that the zombie cut off by Yi Fanzhou was crawling on the ground, about to bite Yi Fanzhou's hind leg. Wang Yusheng quickly raised his hand and fired a series of air cannons, killing the zombies. And Yi Fanzhou, who bravely killed the enemy in front, cut off the heads of the remaining zombies in no time. The corridor regained calmness, as if the fierce battle just now had not occurred. But the smell of blood in the air constantly reminded Wang Yusheng that this was no longer the peaceful world he had previously known. However, Huiyun's little sister and Yi Fanzhou remained calm and did not show any special emotions. Yi Fanzhou killed the enemy's rear and silently returned to behind Wang Yusheng, without saying a word. I don't know if he just opened his eyes. Wang Yusheng looked at Yi Fanzhou and muttered a few words. After a brief rest, he took Huiyun's little sister and Yi Fanzhou towards the end of the corridor. However, after exploring several wards further, Wang Yusheng couldn't see any other survivors. Instead, he found more and more blood stains on the floor, as well as many zombies with broken brains. This discovery made Wang Yusheng suddenly realize that something was wrong. However, it is already too late. Entering the lobby area, a large wave of zombies appeared in front of us. At first glance, there were probably 40 to 50 zombies. Without any intention of confrontation, Wang Yusheng grabbed Yi Fanzhou, who was about to charge up, and shouted, "Run!" Wang Yusheng bent down and picked up Huiyun's little sister, shouting to Yi Fanzhou to run towards the back. Fortunately, Yi Fanzhou was obedient and did not rush to kill the enemy. He obediently followed Wang Yusheng to escape. As they ran away, the zombies let out hoarse growls and ran towards the two at lightning speed. While Wang Yusheng tried his best to escape, his mind was clear. He remembered passing by a room with an iron door, which was nearby. Turning 2 corners, Wang Yusheng saw the room with an iron door and signaled Yi Fanzhou to run into the room. At the same time, Wang Yusheng fired several air cannons backwards, attempting to stop the zombies from walking. "Hurry inside." Wang Yusheng grabbed Yi Fanzhou. Just now, when Yi Fanzhou saw Wang Yusheng firing cannons, He thought he was going to fight and was about to turn back to fight the zombies, but he was caught by Wang Yusheng. Under the leadership of Wang Yusheng, they smoothly rushed to the iron door room. Wang Yusheng hastily put down Huyan's little sister and saw a group of zombies nearby. He quickly shouted, "Boat! Help close the door!" Wang Yusheng and Yi Fanzhou, one by one, pushed the wide-open iron door closed. As soon as the front foot closed the door, a violent collision sound came from the next second. It was obvious that the zombies outside the door were frantically crashing into the iron door. Ha! Ha! After closing the iron door, Wang Yusheng sat backwards on the ground, struggling to catch his breath. This desperate escape almost exhausted his strength. With a shout, Huyan's little sister burst into flames, illuminating the room. Through the firelight, Wang Yusheng observed the surroundings and found that the room was empty, with no one inside. He didn't know what its original purpose was, but there was a window on one side of the room. The rooms on the basement floor all have no windows, but this room does. Wang Yusheng struggled to get up and take a look, only to find a small alley outside the window, facing the ground of the alley. But both inside and outside the windows were sealed with iron fences. Wang Yusheng raised his hand and fired an air cannon, but the air cannon only shattered the transparent glass and could not break the iron fence, as if the material of the iron fence was extraordinary. Chapter 4. Collapse of Order, Unpredictable to Human Mind. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Huyan, come over here for a moment. Wang Yusheng greeted Huyan's little sister, and upon hearing this, she walked over. However, the flames emanating from her body caused the surrounding temperature to rise. Wang Yusheng quickly said, "Let's disperse the flames first. Then help me see if we can melt these iron fences so that we can escape from here." Huyan's little sister put away the flames, tiptoed up to look, and then extended a hand. A deep red flame emanated from her palm, roasting the iron fence. But after burning for a few minutes, the iron fence did not melt. At this moment, the iron door behind him made a loud roar. Wang Yusheng turned around and found that the iron door was sunken inward. It seemed that the group of zombies outside the door had no intention of leaving. "Boating, come and help." Wang Yusheng quickly called out to Yi Fanzhou, who walked up. Under the command of Wang Yusheng, he drew his sword and charged it with strength. With a piercing force, the sword wind slashed at the iron fence, creating a gap. After the opening, coupled with the high temperature burning of Huyan's little sister, the iron fence began to bend and contract. Upon seeing this, Wang Yusheng stood on one side and raised his right hand, generously releasing the air cannon. The energy consumption of the air cannon is very fast, and Wang Yusheng uses all the energy obtained from killing zombies to recharge. With the joint efforts of the three, the iron fence inside and outside the window was finally dismantled, but the high temperature of Huyan's little sister still lingered, making it temporarily impossible to climb out of the window. "Go boating, help me cut down these reddened areas and make the windows bigger." Wang Yusheng used an air cannon to blast several holes out of the walls around the window, and then let Yi Fanzhou release his sword-like blades, forcefully expanding the window in a circle. At this moment, the iron gate had already been forcefully knocked out of a hole by the group of zombies. Wang Yusheng didn't care too much and picked up Huyan's little sister, asking her to go out the window first. Then they pulled Yi on a boat and worked together to squeeze out. If one of Wang Yusheng and Yi Fanzhou were fat, they might have fallen here today. Just as the two had just escaped from the window, the iron door was knocked open and hit the ground with a loud noise. The sky outside was dim, and this violent noise echoed far away in the alley. Wang Yusheng was worried about attracting more zombies, so after picking up Huyan's little sister, he signaled to Yi Fanzhou to run away. In Wang Yusheng's memory, he was framed and escorted to the Xishan Mental Hospital. In his impression, Xishan City was also rated as a livable city, but as he walked through the streets, there were scattered corpses and garbage everywhere, and shops facing the street were littered with signs of destruction, with glass debris scattered all over the ground. After passing through a park near Shishan Mental Hospital, there were no zombies on the way. Wang Yusheng held the sleeping Huiyun little sister and followed Yi Fanzhou to a post office and stopped. It seems that someone. Wang Yusheng heard the sound of people coming from the post office. He looked around and found no other zombies, so he took the two of them to the entrance of the post office. The door of the post office was tightly closed, covered in bloodstains. Wang Yusheng tried knocking on the door, and the sound of knocking appeared eerie in this quiet atmosphere. After knocking on the door, Wang Yusheng could hear a lot of noise inside the post office. In order to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, Wang Yusheng pondered for a moment and shouted softly, "Hello everyone inside. I am a survivor with my brother and sister. May I ask if we can enter?" Inside, there was silence. Just as Wang Yusheng was about to give up and leave, the door to the post office opened. About a dozen people, both men and women, walked out, holding various weapons, including machetes, sticks, and bricks. Their eyes were all on the same level of vigilance. "Hello," Wang Yusheng said to several people. A young man with white hair in the crowd looked at him a few times and said in an unfriendly tone, "You leave what you're carrying behind and get lost." Wang Yusheng was a bit confused when he heard this. He frowned and said, "We are all survivors, shouldn't we help each other?" "What do you mean by saying this now? What are you talking about, Luo Li?" A girl behind the young man with white hair scolded and shouted, "If you want to hand over something, please hand it over as soon as possible. Our De Chiu brother is a superpower, and handing over something can spare your life." Upon hearing this, Wang Yusheng did not expect such a situation. It seemed that the outside world had become a mess, and there were no longer legal and moral constraints. "We have nothing to eat or drink when we hand over the things to you. How can we survive in this apocalypse? Isn't it still a dead end?" Wang Yusheng frowned and said, "Since we're not willing to accept us, let's just go. Can't you fucking understand people's words?" A young man in high spirits smashed a pop can at Wang Yusheng's feet and scolded, "I asked you to hand over your backpack behind you, and then you can go." De Chiu, it seems that the man is still holding a weapon in his hand, like a sword. The weapon also needs them to stay. Someone in the crowd noticed the sword in Yi Fanzhou's hand and quickly said, "You've heard what they said, right? Hurry up and hand over the things, don't force me to do anything." The white-haired young man scratched his ears, looking impatient. He was the only one in the crowd who didn't have a weapon in his hand. It seems that not everyone is a superpower, but little sister Huiyun, Yi Fanzhou, and herself should all be superpowers. However, Wang Yusheng does not know the strength of the young man with white hair and dare not act rashly. "I am also a superpower," Wang Yusheng slowly spoke up and looked at the young man with white hair. "But I don't want to argue with you. We are both humans, not zombies. Since we can't work together, let's go our separate ways. How about that?" "Oh. Are you a superpower?" A hint of fear flashed in the eyes of the young man with white hair, and then he said, "What is your ability? Show me. If your ability is still good, I can consider letting you join us. Behind us is the post office, with a pile of express packages piled up, and various supplies are relatively abundant." Upon hearing this, Wang Yusheng felt a bit uneasy. He had just run out to open the window and had exhausted all his energy. Now he couldn't unleash his air cannon, so he couldn't showcase his abilities. Moreover, Wang Yusheng doesn't want to join them either, he just wants to escape safely now. And when these people saw Wang Yusheng silent, someone immediately said, "Brother Daikyu, this kid is lying. He's not a superpower, he's trying to scare us. Damn it. He almost caught me. He just looks foolish, there's no way he could be a superpower. Is this guy wearing clothes from a mental hospital? Is it a mental illness?" The young man with white hair smiled and said, "If you still want to deceive me, then I won't be polite. In the end, we will have to take some coercive measures. Hand it over honestly, and you don't need to be beaten. As he spoke, the young man with white hair waved his hand, and a huge white fist suddenly appeared on Wang Yusheng's face. He then gave him a firm punch, causing Wang Yusheng, who was holding Huiyan's little sister, to stumble and fall to the side, almost falling. Chapter 5. Power Confrontation and Finding a Way Out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, the young man with white hair did not leave his hand. With a wave of his hand, a white foot appeared behind Wang Yusheng and kicked towards his calf. However, this time the attack of the white-haired youth was unsuccessful. Yi Fanzhou drew his sword out of its sheath and slashed at the white foot, scattering it. What? The young man with white hair was somewhat surprised and looked at the man with tightly closed eyes. Then he reached out with both hands, and two white fists suddenly appeared on both sides of Yi Fanzhou. But Yi Fanzhou only took a step back, swept his sword across, and then scattered his two fists. Seeing this scene, Wang Yusheng felt relieved. It seemed that Yi Fanzhou's sword energy was even better. This young man with white hair was not a formidable character. So Wang Yusheng shouted, "Boat, release a sword energy, but don't hurt anyone." After receiving instructions, Yi Fanzhou played a sword trick and swung his sword. The sword wind, with a strong blade, slashed towards a stone monument in front of the post office, leaving a deep crack on the monument. It's a superpower. Is this sword energy? Sleeping trough. If this were to be struck on a person. De Chiu, be careful. Yi Fanzhou's performance made this group of people feel intimidated. Except for the young man with white hair, everyone else retreated to the post office, afraid of being struck by Yi Fanzhou's sword. What about superpowers? I won't lose in a fight, the young man with white hair snorted coldly, waved his hands, and several pairs of white hands and feet appeared in the air. Wang Yusheng stood up, while the little sister Huiyan in his arms was still asleep. He tried to lower his voice and looked at the young man with white hair, saying, "We also have supernatural beings, but we won't join you and don't want to fight. Let's just let this matter go. However, I advise you not to do such things again, so as not to kick the iron plate or be liquidated one by one when human society returns to order." After speaking, Wang Yusheng became wary of a group of young people with white hair, and then slowly retreated with Yi Fanzhou, leaving the vicinity of the post office. And the young man with white hair may also be wary of Yi Fanzhou and has not been entangled endlessly. Although he was punched, Wang Yusheng was not very angry. He was not such a person without capacity, and it was impossible for Yi Fanzhou to kill or oppress others. Yi Fanzhou is a mentally ill person. Wang Yusheng would ask him to help deal with zombies and escape together, but he would not use Yi Fanzhou. Similarly, Wang Yusheng would not take advantage of Huiyan's younger sister. His idea is simple. Since we cannot huddle together for warmth, there is no need to force any fighting behavior. Leaving the post office, Wang Yusheng continued to search for a place to stay tonight. However, walking on the street, Wang Yusheng felt a bit strange. There were many zombies in the mental hospital, but no crowds of zombies were seen on the street. Afterwards, with the assistance of Yi Fanzhou, Wang Yusheng relied on lifting stones to smash the heads of the zombies, and after killing a few wandering zombies and accumulating some energy, he couldn't help but ponder deeply. If something goes wrong, there will always be demons. Xishan City is a livable city with a large permanent population, and it is impossible for there to be so few zombies on the streets. Or, where are the zombies gathering? Wang Yusheng thought for a moment and thought that there should be human gathering places in the city, and a large number of zombie groups may be located there. The Xishan Mental Hospital is located on the outskirts of the city, in Cici Town, which is very small. If you walk towards the city center, you may find a gathering place for humans. Wang Yusheng believes that in the apocalypse, not everyone has a moral bottom line like the group they just met at the post office. Finding a gathering place is the only way to have a better chance of surviving. However, it's too late and it's not rational to rush at night. We need to find a place to rest first. Wang Yusheng walked on the street, suddenly feeling a surge of hair in his heart. He quickly looked up and saw a dense array of figures in the distance. There are zombies. Come here. Wang Yusheng lowered his voice and called for Yi Fanzhou to come over. The two of them hid next to a car, using cover. Wang Yusheng squinted his eyes and looked into the distance. In the distance is a supermarket, and the supermarket's light sign is still on, indicating CC Supermarket, which looks slightly larger than a convenience store. Looking from afar, the entrance to the supermarket was covered in darkness, with hundreds of zombies unconsciously moving and wandering. So the zombies are all here. The supermarket has abundant supplies, and people must be running here. The zombies are also chasing here, and finally gather here. Wang Yusheng said, I don't know if there will be a large number of survivors in the supermarket. After pondering for a moment, Wang Yusheng noticed Yi Fanzhou sitting on the ground, holding his sword and feeling drowsy. He nodded up and down, indicating that he was also tired. Thinking of this, Wang Yusheng led Yi Fanzhou away from the vicinity, walked for a while, and found a hardware store with a better geographical location. Although there were several zombies in the hardware store, with the cooperation of Wang Yusheng's air cannon and Yi Fanzhou, the two easily cleared up the zombies and entered the hardware store. You go rest first, I'll take some protective measures. Wang Yusheng placed Huiyun's little sister safely on a tattered lounge chair in the hardware store, and then asked Yi Fanzhou to rest. Afterwards, Wang Yusheng searched the hardware store, where there were numerous equipment and many tools that could be used as weapons. After organizing some tools, Wang Yusheng set up some warning tools at the entrance of the store, so that he could react quickly if there were zombies attacking. After finishing everything, Wang Yusheng's nerves finally relaxed. He found a place closer to the door and lay down to rest. As soon as I closed my eyes, the image in my mind was of a zombie grinning its teeth. Wang Yusheng is not afraid of zombies, but has no time to be afraid. After calming down now, although there was no sound around, Wang Yusheng felt the roar of zombies in his ears, making it impossible for him to fall asleep peacefully. Fortunately, the two companions I brought were mentally ill. They may not have any fear of zombies, so they acted cleanly and without panic, which was an unexpected advantage. Wang Yusheng tossed and turned, unable to sleep. He checked his own abilities and only accumulated 18 energy points. He was 182 points away from extracting the next Doraemon secret item. It was a long and arduous task. I don't know what props I can draw next time. Wang Yusheng slowly fell asleep with imagination. The next day when he woke up, Wang Yusheng felt a slight warmth in his chest, which frightened him and made his whole body tremble. However, after opening his eyes, he quickly calmed down. What's wrong with coming to sleep on the floor when there are chairs? Wang Yusheng looked helplessly at her little sister Huiyun in her arms. She slept soundly and her delicate face was full of serenity. Coincidentally, Huiyun's little sister also woke up. After opening her eyes, she met Wang Yusheng's gaze without blinking. Wang Yusheng looked at little sister Huiyun's red pupils and felt as beautiful as a ruby. I am the fire cloud evil god, said the fire cloud little sister. Okay, I got it, wake up. Wang Yusheng showed a gentle smile and rubbed the head of Huiyun's little sister before sitting up. Looking for the figure of Xia Yi Boding, he is meditating. He should be awake, right? After washing up and arranging for Huiyun and Yi Fanzhou to have breakfast, Wang Yusheng talked to the two of them about today's plan. Although one of them couldn't understand and the other didn't speak, Wang Yusheng felt it was necessary to inform the team members of the action. Chapter 6 Strange Phenomenon, Mutated Zombies. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm going to the supermarket to take a look. This is Wang Yusheng's plan, with two main considerations. Wang Yusheng doesn't carry a lot of supplies, so they need to go to places like supermarkets to replenish some essential items, especially medicine. The second consideration is to see if there are any other survivors in the supermarket and seek opportunities for group action. Are there any experts inside? Asked little sister Huyan. Although he had a rough idea of the answer, Wang Yusheng still asked little sister Huyan what she wanted to do with a master, and she replied. I want to fight with a master. Kill the master, or be killed by the master. Wang Yusheng smiled helplessly and touched Huyan's little sister's hair, saying, Don't say anything that won't die. It's okay to beat zombies, but you need to consider before hitting someone. After thinking for a moment, Wang Yusheng added another sentence. If you don't know if you can fight, just ask me. Oh, little sister Huyan responded softly. Wang Yusheng smiled and continued, if there are people in the supermarket, we can try to get in touch. With more people, we can act together and provide some support. Moreover, there must be a lot of supplies in the supermarket, and the supplies we carry won't last long. We need to make some supplements. Little sister Huyan and Yi Fanzhou didn't respond much, leaving only Wang Yusheng to continue speaking on his own. Of course, if the supermarket is too dangerous, we won't take risks. You must follow me well, don't act alone, don't get lost, understand? Oh. Little sister Huyan responded, while Yi Fanzhou didn't react much. He closed his eyes, held his sword, and looked like an extraordinary expert. After communicating the action strategy, Wang Yusheng set off with the two of them, with Wang Yusheng leading Huyan and Yi Fanzhou guarding the rear. Under the leadership of Wang Yusheng, they headed towards the supermarket. Due to the overwhelming crowd at the entrance of the supermarket, Wang Yusheng and the two of them walked 200 to 300 meters to one side and arrived at the back of the supermarket, only to find that there were fewer zombies here. I can handle it, but be careful. If the zombies gather, it will be troublesome. Wang Yusheng used a cautious approach, allowing Huyan's little sister and Yi Fanzhou to cooperate with him and gradually devour the zombies he encountered, slowly approaching the supermarket. However, when it comes to cooperation, it's basically the hands of little sister Huyan. No zombie can withstand the flames that little sister Huyan waved and lifted. But as it burned, Huyan's little sister shouted to her, I'm tired, and fell into Wang Yusheng's arms to sleep. It seems that Huyan's ability is consuming her spirit, and her face is haggard. Wang Yusheng gently touched Huyan's little sister's face, hugged her tightly, and then said to Yi Fanzhou, but there aren't many zombies left. Boating, we can clean up this batch of zombies and get close to the back door area of the supermarket. Yi Fanzhou didn't nod, just grabbed his sword and rushed forward, chopping off the head of a zombie. Wang Yusheng quickly followed and used air cannons to eliminate scattered zombies. After cleaning up the nearby zombies, Wang Yusheng prepared to approach the supermarket area, but his gaze was suddenly drawn to a small restaurant nearby. Looking up, Wang Yusheng saw many dried blood stains in front of the restaurant, surrounded by a foul odor. Inside the restaurant, there were about 10 rotten corpses lying in a haphazard manner, resembling a slaughterhouse. It's a bit strange. Wang Yusheng felt a hint of something unusual, but couldn't quite say it. He asked Yi Fanzhou to help hold Huyan and then walked into the restaurant. Wang Yusheng squatted down to carefully observe the dead body on the ground. After a long time, he finally caught the source of the strange feeling and murmured. These corpses have all turned into zombies, but their heads and hearts do not have fatal wounds, so is this where the casualties are? There was a noticeable tear on the throat of the zombie corpse. Wang Yusheng carefully observed and found that the wound was not caused by some sharp weapons, but rather an irregular wound left after being bitten. Take a closer look and see some tooth marks on the edge of the wound. A living person wouldn't bite a zombie's throat, so was this wound bitten by another animal? Or was it bitten by another zombie? Wang Yusheng suddenly thought of the zombie that was destroyed by Huyan when he met him. There will be cannibalism among zombies, but it is not for no reason, so the purpose of cannibalism is evolution. Wang Yusheng thought of this possibility and felt uneasy in his heart. After much thought, Wang Yusheng put aside his doubts for the time being. His primary goal now is to survive. It doesn't make much sense to think about the evolution of zombies at this stage, so it's better to move forward towards the current goal first. Wang Yusheng walked out of the restaurant and took Huiyan's little sister from Yi Fanzhou's hand. The two continued to head towards the back of the supermarket. In a small corner behind the supermarket, Wang Yusheng found an entrance and exit that should be the employee passage. There are still some zombies, let's go up together. Wang Yusheng called on Shang Yi to go boating and clean up the zombies. In the battle on a wide area, Yi Fanzhou's movements were very flexible. He also understood that he needed to chop off the zombies' heads to make them lose their mobility, so his sword moves would not cut unnecessary places. As Wang Yusheng had to hold Huiyan's little sister, he had to fall behind and stand in a safer position behind, freeing his right hand to use an air cannon to clear the obstacles behind or on the side for Yi Fanzhou. Just after Wang Yusheng shot one zombie's head, he aimed his palm at another zombie and fired, but the targeted zombie flipped backwards, avoiding that air cannon. The zombie evading that air cannon moved slowly and did not charge as recklessly as other zombies. After evading Wang Yusheng's air cannon, it even turned around and stared at him, with a smile on its lips. "Boating, be careful." Wang Yusheng quickly spoke out, but the zombie's movements were extremely fast. It quickly rushed behind Yi Fanzhou, reached out to grab Yi Fanzhou's clothes, and threw him backwards, only to see Yi Fanzhou being thrown out. After landing, Yi Fanzhou's body hit a forklift carrying goods, and he let out a muffled groan. The sword in Yi Fanzhou's hand slipped off, his head tilted, and it seemed like he had fainted. "Damn it!" Wang Yusheng cursed and ran towards Yi Fanzhou with one hand holding Huiyan's little sister. His right-hand air cannon aimed at the zombie and fired one after another, but the zombie hid behind the other zombies, avoiding Wang Yusheng's air cannon. "I can sneak attack and find cover, this zombie has obviously evolved." Wang Yusheng quickly ran to Yi Fanzhou's side and pushed him, but there was no response. There were still zombies rushing around, and Wang Yusheng put down Huiyan's little sister and quickly raised his hand to shoot. Fortunately, Yi Fanzhou had already cleaned up most of the zombies, and Wang Yusheng raised his hand a few times before knocking out all the remaining ordinary zombies. Finally, there is only the evolved zombie left. This zombie was originally a young man with a hat on his head. If it weren't for the bulging blood vessels and ferocious appearance on his face, his stable appearance would not be like a zombie at all. Chapter 7. Free the tiger and return to the mountain, endless adventures in the future. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Roar. The hat zombie let out a low roar and slowly approached Wang Yusheng. Without rushing forward, it surrounded Wang Yusheng. As he walked, he stared at Wang Yusheng with his rolled white eyes, as if searching for his flaws. This made Wang Yusheng realize that this zombie has the ability to think. But there is no rule that zombies cannot have thinking. Wang Yusheng took a deep breath and didn't give the mutated zombie too many opportunities. He coldly raised his hand, and the mutated zombie stopped and stepped back. But Wang Yusheng actually fired a fake shot, his right hand closely following the movement of the mutated zombie. Air cannon, fired. The mutated zombie was relatively close to Wang Yusheng, and he had no time to dodge. He could only raise his arms to block it in front of him, but the air cannon only made its arms bleed and the effect was not significant. Wang Yusheng dared not blink his eyes and stared fixedly at the mutated zombies. He was afraid that if the stalemate continued, other zombies would appear, and delaying it would be detrimental to him. After careful consideration, Wang Yusheng took a step closer and fired another air cannon. This time, he was dodged by the mutated zombie, but Wang Yusheng's second cannon hit smoothly. However, the mutated zombie intentionally protected the deadly area, and this shot failed to hit the head, only crushing one shoulder of the mutated zombie. Faced with Wang Yusheng's approach, the mutated zombie slowly retreated, showing some fear. Finally, after Wang Yusheng added another cannon, the mutated zombie no longer confronted Wang Yusheng and turned around to escape. Wang Yusheng looked at the mutated zombie running away, his expression changing. Releasing a tiger back to the mountain will bring endless troubles in the future. Wang Yusheng didn't know how far this mutated zombie could evolve. The risk of letting it go was too high, but he couldn't leave Yi Fanzhou and Huiyan little sister to pursue. Seeing that there was no longer any danger around, Wang Yusheng walked into the entrance and exit of the employee passage at the side door and checked the risk. After confirming their safety, Yi Fanzhou and Huiyan were brought in, and then the side door passage was closed. Boating. Boating. Wang Yusheng placed Yi Fanzhou on the ground and called out to him twice. Yi Fanzhou reacted and snorted twice, then slowly sat up with his hand supporting his body. Sit still and rest first. Wang Yusheng held down Yi Fanzhou and then lifted his clothes to look at his back, which was blue and purple, and he fell heavily. Pacify Yi Fanzhou and entrust Huiyan's little sister to his care, while Wang Yusheng walks inside alone. Walking through this employee passage, there is a fire door at the end. After pushing open the fire door, he saw a fire staircase. The fire door on the opposite side tried to push but could not be pushed open, so Wang Yusheng walked upstairs with caution. Walking up the first floor, Wang Yusheng saw that the fire door on the side of the stairs was half open. He gently opened the door gap and squeezed in. After entering, I saw a corridor that seemed to be the restroom and office area for supermarket employees. The hallway was dimly lit and messy, but there were no bloodstains. Wang Yusheng walked slowly and saw a double door at the end of the corridor. He reached out and pushed it, but did not open it, only to hear the sound of the iron chain shaking. Did you lock it from inside? Wang Yusheng was pleasantly surprised. Perhaps there were survivors inside. Thinking of this, Wang Yusheng shook the door and shouted softly, "Hello. Is there anyone? Hello. Is there anyone?" After shaking for a while, accompanied by the sound of the iron chain shaking, Wang Yusheng also heard the sound of a door being pushed open. He realized that there was someone behind the door and quickly shouted, "Hello. I am a survivor and I am also bringing my younger brother and sister. May I ask if we can enter?" As he spoke, the door in front of him was pushed outward, revealing a crack in the door. A pair of eyes appeared through the crack. Wang Yusheng vaguely saw a woman inside the door, so he repeated his previous words again. "How did you come here?" A female voice asked in a cold tone. "We came from behind the supermarket. There is a side door behind the supermarket, which is a staff passage. After I walked in, I walked all the way and came to this place. The back door. There are no zombies in the back door." "There are zombies." Wang Yusheng hesitated for a moment and said, "But my younger brother is a superpower. He cleaned up all the zombies before we could run in. But he is injured now and can't move below temporarily. Can you accept us? We are not bad people. Your clothes say, Shishan Mental Hospital on them." Although there was no complete inquiry across the street, Wang Yusheng knew what she was worried about and quickly said, "Don't worry, I'm not crazy. You can feel it from the way I speak to you and the logic of my language. There are some reasons for this, but rest assured, I'm being friendly." The eyes in the crack of the door stared at Wang Yusheng, and after a while, he said, "You bring your brother and sister up. After I confirm, I will decide whether to let you in." "Okay. Wait for me, come right away." Wang Yusheng nodded, then turned around and ran away, back to the employee passage. After explaining the situation to Yi Fanzhou, he did not respond much, which was also expected by Wang Yusheng. "Boating, can we still walk?" Wang Yusheng asked with concern, and Yi Fanzhou stood up reluctantly, supported by his sword sheath. Upon seeing this, Wang Yusheng continued, "Okay, don't force yourself too hard. Follow me slowly." Wang Yusheng bent down to pick up the still sleeping Huiyan little sister, and then took Yi Fanzhou upstairs. 5 minutes later, Wang Yusheng returned to the locked double door. "What's wrong with them?" a voice came from the crack in the door. My younger sister fell asleep, and then my younger brother encountered some fright after the disaster struck. Although he awakened his powers, he couldn't speak or open his eyes. He is still injured and his movements are not very convenient, Wang Yusheng explained slightly. The eyes inside the crack of the door stared at the three people for a long time before the sound of the iron chain unlocking came. After the door was opened, two pretty girls appeared in front of them. They were wearing a set of autumn student uniforms, with jackets and long pants. "My name is Wang Yusheng, my sister's name is Huiyun, and my younger brother's name is Pan Zhou." Wang Yusheng tried to keep his voice gentle and introduced himself to the two girls. "My name is Luying, and this is my sister Luyao." One of the girls with long hair said coldly, while her sister's eyes were timid and she hid behind her in silence. "Hello. Can we go first? Also, I'm not sure if you have any medicine here. My younger brother has suffered a big back injury from a fall. Wang Yusheng also asked Yi to come by in a boat and show his back injury to Lu's two sisters. There are some medicines, you can find them yourself." Lu Ying pulled her sister aside and gave way, gesturing for Wang Yusheng to enter. There is also a door behind the gate, which is wide open. Behind the door is a relatively wide area that looks like a supermarket stocking warehouse. Chapter 8. Mutualism and Abundant Resources. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Thank you," Wang Yusheng nodded slightly and said. Seeing that Lu's two sisters were alert, he asked Yi to sail a boat closer to him so as not to cause any misunderstanding. Wang Yusheng and Yi Fanzhou slowly walked into the door, then got off with the two women and entered behind the door. Then Lu Ying and Lu Yao closed the double doors and locked them with iron chains. Entering the door, there is a large space in front of you, with a floor height of nearly 4 meters and windows above the walls on both sides. There are shelves everywhere here, but only half of the goods are on shelves, which may be due to the low inventory of this supermarket itself. Boating, come and rest first. After arranging Yi Fanzhou and sitting down, Wang Yusheng looked around and found others here. This made Wang Yusheng a little surprised and alert. He turned to look at the two sisters of Lu and asked, "Where are the others?" Lu Ying, who was walking ahead, saw the vigilance in Wang Yusheng's eyes and said in a cold voice, "There are only the two of us here. There used to be dozens of people, but they are all gone." "What does it mean to be gone?" Wang Yusheng frowned slightly and asked. "Dead." Lu Ying responded, making Wang Yusheng nervous, but Lu Ying and Lu Yao did not make any suspicious movements. Only Lu Ying continued, "This is a supermarket. At the beginning of the apocalypse, many people gathered here. We also followed others to escape here. After we arrived, we encountered several zombie attacks, and some survivors were bitten and infected, turning into zombies. After a few rounds, we built a defense line, and the number of people decreased to around 20. Although Lu Ying said it lightly, the process is not simple." Wang Yusheng listened and felt a bit lucky. It seems that the zombie outbreak has been going on for some time, but he fell into a coma on the hospital bed and was not eaten by the zombie. Fortunately, among the survivors, 3 of them awakened their abilities, which were quite powerful. Together, they could clear most of the zombies and withstand their impact, so they would still go outside to search for survivors. However, later on, a very powerful zombie appeared and killed one of them, so we hid inside and didn't dare to go out again. Upon hearing the powerful zombie, Wang Yusheng pondered deeply. Lu Ying paused for a moment, her face changed slightly, and she continued, "After the death of a more powerful superpower, the remaining 2 superpowers were all men. They didn't trust each other and wanted to be the leaders. So, many ugly things happened during this period." Ugly thing. Wang Yusheng was stunned for a moment. However, it seems that Lu Ying doesn't want to go into detail about this story. Anyway, the result is that after one night's internal struggle, people died in 7 or 8, and only 1 power and our 2 sisters remained. Our 2 sisters hid well and did not participate in it, so they survived. However, the living power had an intention to invade us, but my sister's power suddenly woke up and killed the other. After listening to Lu Ying's words, Wang Yusheng fell into a brief silence. Although Lu Ying appeared to be a student, she knew how to observe her words and expressions. She said calmly, "Only we survived, so you don't necessarily believe what we say, it's not mandatory. This place is quite large, let's draw boundaries and don't cross the other party's living area. You can use the materials here if you need them." After speaking, Lu Ying pulled her sister Lu Yao away, and they disappeared from a shelf. Wang Yusheng did not follow up to avoid rashly crossing the boundary mentioned by the willow warbler and causing any trouble. What an unexpected situation. After murmuring a few words, Wang Yusheng immediately searched everywhere for medicine. In no time, he found Yunnan Baiyao and Huishue Jidong tablets. He took them back and wiped the wound on Yi Fanzhou's back. After letting him take the medicine, he instructed Yi Fanzhou to rest well. There were abundant supplies here, and Wang Yusheng quickly dragged over a few mattresses, found a position against the wall, and laid the bedding for Yi Fanzhou to lie down and rest. However, Yi Fanzhou was not very obedient. He refused to lie down and insisted on meditation. Wang Yusheng saw this and left it to him. After a fierce battle before, Wang Yusheng felt a bit weak. After placing the little sister Huiyun, he lay down and went to sleep. After Wang Yusheng fell asleep, Lu Ying walked over to watch from afar. Although Yi Fanzhou closed his eyes, he could detect the appearance of Lu Ying, so he grabbed the sword sheath and made a defensive posture. However, the willow warbler did not get close. After taking a few glances from afar, she turned back. Seeing the disappearance of the willow warbler, Yi Fanzhou lowered his sword and continued to meditate. After an unknown amount of time, when Wang Yusheng woke up leisurely, the warehouse was filled with the color of dusk, but the red and purple pupils in front of him were particularly dazzling. "I am the fire cloud evil god, which one, your excellency?" Wang Yusheng smiled and touched the Huiyun little sister who was sleeping next to him at some point. She asked, "Are you hungry? We don't need to eat cookies and canned food today. We have self-heating rice, so I'll go and gather a few." Speaking, Wang Yusheng stood up and went to find a few boxes of self-heating rice and bottled water. After the rice was cooked, they invited Yi Fanzhou and Huiyun to have a meal. The feeling of three people wolfing down a hot meal is comfortable. After eating, Yi Fanzhou lay down without any warning. At first, it startled Wang Yusheng, and after observing it, he realized that Yi Fanzhou was probably asleep. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from a distance. Wang Yusheng turned around and found that the willow warbler appeared not far away. She held a night light in her hand and said, "Come with me, I'll tell you where the restroom is." Before the power and water were cut off, we stored a lot of water sources and fully charged various devices that needed to be charged. Also, it's very dark here at night. Come and get a few lights. Okay. Wang Yusheng stood up, and Huiyun's little sister also stood up, placing her hand in Wang Yusheng's big hand. Seeing this, Wang Yusheng squatted down again and whispered to her, "Huiyun, can you stay here and watch your boating brother? When we go to bed in the afternoon, he should be guarding us and not sleeping. We won't be able to bear it and fall asleep, so it's our turn to guard him." "Don't worry, I'm fine, okay." Upon hearing this, Huiyun turned her head to look at Yi Fanzhou and then at Wang Yusheng. She opened her mouth slightly and said, "Oh," before obediently sitting down. This made Wang Yusheng very pleased. The two of them were not like some dangerous mental illness. They were good at communicating and obedient. Chapter 9. Worthy of the Heart, Insight into Sin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soothing the little sister Huiyun, Wang Yusheng followed the willow warbler. Along the way, Wang Yusheng and Lu Ying did not communicate, and the atmosphere seemed eerie, but they could also understand. Led by Lu Ying, they arrived at a corner of the warehouse. There is an unisex employee restroom here, which has a toilet, a shower, and a sink. Since there is only one room, Lu Ying and Wang Yusheng have agreed on a bathing time. This is an electronic watch with a light. Lu Ying handed a bag of things to Wang Yusheng and said, "We will use the restroom to take a shower before 8 p.m., and you can use it after 8 p.m. Then, please make sure to save water. There is a rechargeable hot water bar over there that can heat up some water. If you have anything else you want to find and can't find it, you can come ask me and call my name on shelf 8. After speaking, Lu Ying turned around and left. It seemed that she didn't want to have too much contact with Wang Yusheng. Wang Yusheng didn't care. He himself was a little wary of Lu's two sisters. He thought there would be many people gathered here, but only 2 girls were there. If things go wrong, we still need to remain vigilant. After warning himself, Wang Yusheng went to look for some clothes. The clothes on him and Yi Fanzhou were covered in blood stains and should have been changed long ago. On the other hand, Huiyun's little sister is somewhat unique. She can set fire to herself without damaging her clothes. After finding a few sets of clothes, Wang Yusheng returned to the base he had built. Now there are only 3 mattresses stacked together, which is relatively simple. Hence Wang Yusheng lit a lamp and went to find some shelves, tissues, and other daily necessities, busy dressing up. Huiyun's little sister was playing with finger flames on the side, watching Wang Yusheng bustle around. After Wang Yusheng finished his work, Yi Fanzhou happened to wake up. The sign that Wang Yusheng judged Yi Fanzhou awake was that he had changed from lying down to meditating. "Wake up, that's just right. Let's go take a shower together." Wang Yusheng glanced at the time. At 9:30, it was time for them to use the restroom, so he called Yi Fanzhou and Huiyun's little sister together. After spending these 2 days together, Wang Yusheng found that the 2 of them would go to the restroom normally when they were outside yesterday, so they have a certain level of self-care ability. In front of the restroom, Wang Yusheng handed Yi Fanzhou a set of clothes. After Yi Fanzhou took it, he carried his sword and went into the restroom. Wang Yusheng crouched at the door, watching little sister Huiyun play with flames at her fingertips. In less than 10 minutes, Yi Fanzhou came out, holding the dirty and sickly clothes from the mental hospital. "Give it to me." Wang Yusheng took the dirty clothes and asked Yi Fanzhou to come over and wait, calling for Huiyun to take a shower, but Huiyun stood still. "What's wrong?" Wang Yusheng asked. Huiyun's little sister put away her finger flame and looked at Wang Yusheng without speaking. Wang Yusheng scratched his head and asked, "Do you mean, let's go together?" Little sister Huiyun extended her finger and said, "Help me." Wang Yusheng hesitated for a moment, thinking that at the age of little sister Huiyun, her awakening of gender awareness was not enough. After thinking for a while, Wang Yusheng still agreed to take Huiyun's little sister in for a shower. About half an hour later, Wang Yusheng came out with Huiyun, who had changed into a red strawberry nightgown. After asking Yi Fanzhou to help take her back, Wang Yusheng stayed behind to wash clothes for everyone. Little sister Huiyun is very fond of her red princess dress, so she can't throw it away. Wang Yusheng needs to focus on washing this outfit. After washing his clothes and personal clothing by hand, Wang Xingyu carried them back to the base area. Hanging my clothes on the clothesline, Wang Yusheng saw Huiyun's little sister looking at several picture books under the night light. However, she didn't read them one by one, but several picture books were spread out and turned the pages together. And Yi Fanzhou, as always, was meditating. "Do you understand it? Do you need me to read it to you?" Wang Yusheng came to little sister Huiyun's side, wanting to ask if she could understand the picture book, but the other person ignored him and continued to silently read the picture book. Wang Yusheng smiled and didn't pay attention. He sat beside Huiyun's little sister, thinking about the next direction in his mind. What has become of the outside world now, he still doesn't know, nor does he know where there is a safe gathering place for humans. The supplies here are relatively sufficient, but there are not enough personnel. It's not a good idea to sit on the sidelines, so it may not be suitable to stay here for a long time. Wang Yusheng looked up, gazing at the night light seeping through the window, pondering deeply on the future path. At this moment, Wang Yusheng heard some strange noise coming from outside the window, seemingly the roar of zombies. He stood up and murmured, "Is there anyone outside?" Carrying the night light, Wang Yusheng walked out and found an elevated ladder. After the ladder was stretched out, Wang Yusheng climbed up the ladder and leaned out to look out the window. However, the light outside is dim, making it difficult to see clearly. Then Wang Yusheng went to look for a telescope, and after returning to the ladder, he held the telescope and looked around. A moment later, Wang Yusheng discovered the source of the anomaly and also saw a familiar figure. That hat. It's that mutated zombie. Wang Yusheng, through a telescope and under the faint moonlight, saw a distant parking lot where the fleeing mutated zombie pounced on another zombie, and then the mutated zombie bit into the throat of a similar creature. The knocked-down zombie struggled fiercely, but the mutated zombie tightly bit its throat. After struggling for a while, the knocked-down zombie slowly lost its reaction and convulsed a few times before becoming motionless. Smoking the same kind. Wang Yusheng's face darkened as he watched the mutated zombie wearing a hat pounce on another zombie and continue to bite his throat, seeming to be sucking on something. Suddenly, the mutated zombie stopped sucking and looked up at Wang Yusheng. Wang Yusheng's heart tightened. In the telescope, he saw the mutated zombie's mouth curling up, and then it continued to bury its head in hardship. Did it discover me? Can it sense at such a distance? Is this another evolution? Can it strengthen itself by devouring its own kind? Wang Yusheng guessed that other zombies were unconsciously wandering outside, but only this mutated zombie's actions were different. After knocking down more than 10 zombies, it infiltrated the group of zombies and walked around like other zombies. What are you doing? The sudden sound coming from behind scared Wang Yusheng and almost made him fall off the ladder. Be careful. After stabilizing his figure, Wang Yusheng turned around and found that it was Lu Ying holding a lamp, standing below. Lu Ying changed into a black nightgown, as if blending into the darkness. Her clothes were tightly wrapped, and she said with a hint of apology, "I didn't mean to scare you." "I'm fine," Wang Yusheng waved his hand and asked in response, "What's up with you?" The willow warbler looked up and said in a cool voice, "Can you come down first? It's a bit tiring to talk with your head up like this." "Sorry, I'm coming down right now." Wang Yusheng slowly climbed down the ladder and turned to look at Lu Ying, but his gaze did not look too much at the other person, trying to avoid some misunderstandings. "I heard some commotion from you, so come and take a look," Lu Ying explained and said. "I'm sorry for disturbing your rest," Wang Yusheng apologized sincerely and then said, "I heard zombies calling outside, thinking someone was fighting with them. I wanted to come and see the situation, but I didn't find anyone." After hearing Wang Yusheng's explanation, Lu Ying remained silent for about 10 seconds and asked, "If other survivors were found, would you go and save them?" "Yes, one more person and one more strength," Wang Yusheng nodded and added, "but we must also act within our capacity. I have younger brothers and sisters to take care of, and we cannot put them in danger. Yi Fanzhou and Huiyin's younger sister are mentally ill, and their cognitive and logical thinking abilities are limited, which may prevent them from identifying danger. At present, since they are willing to listen to Wang Yusheng's words, Wang Yusheng will be responsible to them. The person here who shares your thoughts is very kind." Lu Ying looked at Wang Yusheng's serious gaze and slowly said, "He died quite tragically in the end." Wang Yusheng smiled slightly and said in a warm voice, "No matter what the world is now, it's good to be a good person and do things with a clear conscience. And don't you also open the door for us?" "That's because I can confirm your situation." Lu Ying hesitated for a moment and said, "Actually, I have also awakened my powers, but my powers are very weak, and I can only see the sins on one person." Seeing people's sins. If a person kills someone, I can see the shadow on their body. The stronger the shadow, the more people they kill. Lu Ying said slowly, but there is no shadow on the three of you, it's very clean. Wang Yusheng showed a sudden expression and said, no wonder you wanted to see all of us before deciding whether to let us in. Is killing a zombie considered murder? Not really, said the willow warbler, shaking her head. Well, that's good. Wang Yusheng nodded and saw that Lu Ying was willing to talk to him more. He then brought up the topic and said, speaking of which, although I didn't see anyone just now, I saw a strange zombie. Do you know anything about it? The Lu Ying's face changed and she asked, the one wearing a hat. Yes. The kind-hearted person I just told you about was killed by this zombie. That person's abilities are very powerful. During an outdoor operation, he ran away to cover up for others and left a broken back. However, he was ambushed by the hat zombie from behind and his brain was eaten raw. Lu Ying said with a sad expression on her face. Chapter 10. Devouring Evolution and Taking the Initiative to Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Did you eat your brain raw? Wang Yusheng was a bit puzzled. He saw the hat zombie attacking other zombies with a single bite on their necks, but did not see it biting their brains. Can you come with me for a moment? Lu Ying greeted Wang Yusheng and turned away. Upon seeing this, Wang Yusheng followed and the two of them arrived near a shelf, with dark curtains hanging between them as a cover. Please wait for me. Lu Ying said, then she lifted the curtain and went in. It must be the living place of Lu Ying and Lu Yao's sisters behind the curtain. Quickly, Lu Ying walked out with a digital camera and said softly, as mentioned earlier, before the water and electricity were cut off, we fully charged many electronic products. Then I took some pictures with this camera and showed you something. Wang Yusheng followed the willow warbler to another shelf, and the two got closer. In the darkness, they could hear each other's breathing and heartbeat. The display screen of the digital camera emitted bright light, and as the photos of Lu Ying passed by one, Wang Yusheng quickly noticed the problem. Zombies have their throats bitten open, while human brains have their brains torn open. Wang Yusheng looked at the bloody pictures one by one and explained the differences, asking, how did you think of taking these pictures? Because my parents became zombies, Lu Ying lowered her head and said slowly, they were not infected after being bitten, but became zombies on the first day of the apocalypse. However, when they were still conscious, they ran away from home in order not to harm my sister and me. I studied zombies, hoping to one day save my parents. Although, I don't know if they are still alive today. Upon hearing this, Wang Yusheng remained silent. He didn't say anything like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have raised this question. In the apocalypse, there are too many difficulties. Then, based on my observation, I speculate that zombies will consume the brain marrow of living people, devour the power of their own kind, in order to achieve evolution. Lu Ying said her guess, moreover, the brain of living people is very tempting for zombies. That is to say, zombies attacking humans may be for the purpose of sucking on their brain marrow, and after consuming enough brain marrow, they will evolve and even possess wisdom, Wang Yusheng said, following Lu Ying's guess. Yes, Lu Ying nodded and continued, there's one more piece of information. Evolved zombies will still compete with each other. The zombie wearing the hat killed another evolutionary zombie and sucked on its brain marrow. As for evolutionary zombies attacking ordinary zombies, I think they may just be replenishing their strength. Wang Yusheng lowered his head and pondered a few times before sighing, saying, although these discoveries have some significance, they may not be of much help to our current situation. Lu Ying responded with a lonely expression on her face. By the way, I have another question to ask, but if you find it too offensive, you don't need to answer me, and I will sincerely apologize to you, Wang Yusheng tentatively asked. You can ask. Lu Ying put away her camera and looked up. Can you tell me what you know about the end of the world? Or, how did your parents become zombies? Wang Yusheng had no knowledge about the end of the world, so he wanted to explore from Lu Ying. Lu Ying didn't have any extra doubts. She let out a light breath and said in a cold voice, "That day, our family was preparing to eat at home, but suddenly, my parents' faces became very strange. They flipped the table like crazy, scaring my sister and me silly. Immediately after, I saw my parents' lips curved wide, their faces bulging with veins and teeth popping, as if they wanted to bite something. Then they pounced on me and my sister separately. Just as we were about to be bitten, my parents may have briefly regained consciousness, and they all let go of me and my sister, fleeing home. We chased out and saw our parents knocking down our neighbor's sister who had run out of the house. Then a zombie ran out of her house and they tore at her like crazy. I was very scared and pulled her back into the house, then closed the door tightly, hoping that it would all be a dream." The story that followed, Lu Ying did not continue. "I'm sorry to remind you of these uncomfortable things," Wang Yusheng sincerely apologized. From what Lu Ying said, he roughly understood that the source of the zombie was a sudden human mutation, but the specific reason for the mutation is still unclear. "It's okay, anyway, I dream about that scene every night, and speaking it out actually makes me feel better." Lu Ying shook her head, her face not showing excessive pain. Afterwards, the two fell into a brief silence. Seeing that there was nothing else to talk about, Wang Yusheng bid farewell to Lu Ying, said good night, and returned to his territory. Returning to the area built by Wang Yusheng, I saw Huiyin's little sister still reading picture books. I approached and gently advised Huiyin's little sister not to read too late and to rest early. Then Wang Yusheng slept alone first. Not long after falling asleep, Huiyin's little sister finished reading the picture book. She turned her head and stared at Wang Yusheng, who was sleeping soundly, for a long time before getting up and walking to Wang Yusheng's side. She pulled Wang Yusheng's arm up and then tucked it into his arms to sleep. Having nothing to do overnight, the next day when she woke up, Lu Ying approached Wang Yusheng and wanted to talk to him about the next plan. The reason was that Lu Ying felt that the supermarket was not suitable for staying for a long time. "Did you find anything?" Wang Yusheng asked. Lu Ying still held her digital camera and showed Wang Yusheng the photo above, explaining, "This is the number of zombies at the back door of the supermarket 5 days ago. And then this is the photo from 2 days ago. Did you find anything? Is the number of zombies gradually decreasing?" Wang Yusheng asked. "Yes, but there are no zombie bodies on the ground, so the zombies walked away on their own. But based on my previous observations, if there were no targets to attack, the zombies would unconsciously wander nearby and not go too far." "Yes, I think so too," Wang Yusheng agreed. "Then, these are photos of the number of zombies at the front door of the supermarket." Lu Ying showed Wang Yusheng several other photos, and soon Wang Yusheng noticed the anomaly. "The quantity is increasing day by day." Wang Yusheng frowned and said. I guess someone, or some zombies, gathered other zombies at the main entrance of the supermarket. The supermarket entrance is the direction we built, with a big iron gate. If my guess is correct, these gathered zombies may wait for an opportunity to break through the defense line here." Lu Ying combined her observations and made such a speculation. Wang Yusheng recalled these photos and felt that Lu Ying's words made some sense. He murmured, "Was it that hat zombie that made it? It now has the ability to drive other zombies. But there are already many zombies gathered at the entrance, and with it, if we really want to attack, we won't be able to hold on. What is it waiting for?" Upon hearing this, Lu Ying looked up at Wang Yusheng and slowly said, "It's wary of the supernatural beings here. Don't forget, there were originally 20 or so survivors and 2 supernatural beings here, but they died in internal struggles, but the zombies outside didn't know about this." After Lu Ying's reminder, Wang Yusheng understood. "Got it, that hat zombie has seen the original psychics here and knows the number of survivors, so for safety reasons, it will gather more zombies before attacking," Wang Yusheng pondered as he touched his chin. Lu Ying nodded and said, "And it's not just the assembled zombies. That hat zombie is constantly strengthening itself. It's already targeting us. We can't hide here in the supermarket all the time. So you're talking to me about taking the initiative.